New Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Hashtag fake witness. We're going to get into the Cohen thing, get into a bunch of other stuff. The deep state is in absolute turmoil. We've got Spygate rolling and rolling, trying to attempt to tag Trump. Still, 2.5 years, 3 years into this thing, still trying to tag Trump on a Russian collusion thing. We'll expose all that as the great Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows just absolutely destroy, as well as Representative Green from Tennessee destroy Mike Cohen, the hack. We're also going
the fixer.
The fixer. There's also some news coming out about the wall, Venezuela, a couple things that came out of Venezuela, some video clips that the media is not going to show you about. We'll get into that as well. One of the great things is that everybody's losing their mind. Donald Trump's making the world great again.
Oh, yeah. Peace on earth shall be in our time, possibly.
Yes, and we have a video from Vietnam where Donald Trump is having his Korean summit with Kim Jong-un. And this video sent directly to us from
satellite, right?
Yeah.
Satellite feed. This is live.
This is from Saul.
You know her from Twitter?
Yeah. SOL on Twitter. Saul on Twitter.
Gangnam Style. 낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자 밤이 오면 심장이 뜨거워지는 여자 그런 반전 있는 여자 너는 선호해 낮에는 너만큼 따사로운 그런 선호해 커피 식기도 전에 원샷 때리는 선호해 밤이 오면 심장이 터져버리는 선호해 그런 선호해 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 바로 너 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 바로 너 지금부터 갈 때까지 가볼까 오빤 강남스타일
The facial expressions they find hilarious.
오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일 오빤 강남스타일 Sexy lady 오빤 강남스타일 Sexy lady 성숙해 보이지만 볼 땐 노는 여자 이때다 싶으면 묶었던 머리 푸는 여자 가렸지만 웬만한 노출보다 야한 여자 그런 감각적인 여자 나는 선호해 가다 보이지만 볼 땐 노는 선호해 완전 미쳐버리는
I should have put Trump's head on top.
세상이 올통벌통한 선호해 그런 선호해
Soylent Green Productions. Thank you so much for that. Oh my gosh.
There's no getting away from that. I mean, you just not get away from it.
No, they put Kim Jong-un's head on the top one because he had like this pot belly thing.
Oh,
okay,
okay.
It's very, very silly. But Psy is the name of the original artist who, he was on the head, or Trump's head was on him most of the time. So there you go.
No, folks, this is what it's all about. You got to laugh at the left. You got to laugh at everything. All this political stuff, you got to laugh at it at times in order to keep your sanity, unlike some of the other politicians that we know who are absolutely losing their minds.
So what do you think is going to happen? And it's in Vietnam. Hanoi is where he's talking. So what do you think is going to come of this? A friendship, peace on Earth, or peace in the Korean Peninsula? Is there going to be a Nobel Peace Prize in the future?
Right. Well, the Japanese Prime Minister, on behalf of the entire country of Japan, has nominated Donald J. Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. And there's rumor that there's 2 other people that are willing to back that up. So we're excited about that.
And rightfully so. I think that is the way that things should happen when it comes to awarding these kinds of very big, prestigious, historic awards. When you hear about somebody in school, a lot of times if they've won the Nobel Peace Prize, that's what they lead with, Nobel Peace Prize person, and that's how they describe them in the history book. So I think that these recipients should be people that do the great works that we'll be talking about for hundreds of years.
Right, absolutely. And at GOP, during President Obama's last year in office, North Korea launched a missile every 24 days.
Wow.
Now it's been 457 days without a missile launch from North Korea. At Real, Donald Trump has made great progress easing the tensions and working towards the denuclearization of the peninsula.
And some people very cynically might say, well, yeah, I mean, if Obama just paid him whatever he wanted or did whatever he wanted, he might have stopped those missiles. But Obama was the tough guy and leaned on him and all that kind of stuff. I think it was the opposite. But also, I think what Trump has done here, which has made him what I consider to be the brilliant leader that he is, the proper recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, was he read the situation correctly. He figured out that the reason North Korea was the way that they were was because of the way that the Soviet Union set the entire East up after World War II to basically do this domino thing where they create a Soviet bloc, if you will, where as many countries as possible become a part of this big communist bloc, right? The Iron Curtain, if you will. And the leaders that were installed in North Korea would be Kim Jong-un's grandfather, and then took over by his son, which would be Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il. And then Kim Jong-un took it over. What Trump did to figure out how to make this work was to learn about Kim Jong-un and learn about what kind of person he is and what his background is and try to figure out what he really desires. And this is a guy that we know was raised in a Western, I shouldn't say raised, but went to Western schools for a majority of his life. I think it was Switzerland.
Yes, and absolutely loved the NBA.
Yeah, well, that's where he learned to love Western sports and stuff like that. So apparently, I had to learn this kind of recently, and that in my research, and that is that the very wealthy people in these communist countries, such as North Korea, very wealthy ones, will send their children to Switzerland to get a proper education because they don't have that proper education in their own country. So to get a leg up, they send their children out to get a real education. They come back and they're truly educated. But with a Western education comes Western friends, Western television,
clothing, the lifestyle. Yeah, the culture, the
total
lifestyle.
Culture. So Trump made the prediction, and it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Look what Dennis Rodman was able to do. We all thought, what is wrong with this guy going to North Korea?
I thought he was going to wind up dead, for real.
Either dead or that somehow he was a traitor for even going down this road. Turns out, Donald Trump said, you know what, this guy's a big-time NBA fan. How did he become an NBA fan? And then he probably all figured out and realized, you know what, I'll bet you Kim Jong-un came back after being taught in Western countries. He don't like it here, and that he wishes it was more like those Western countries. Let's see if we can lean on him that way, offer him what you saw in the video from the first summit, which was, you know, a Western culture, capitalism type of thing for North Korea. And I think he's fired up and ready to go. I think Kim Jong-un is like, wow, I could have never dreamed that I could be offered all this stuff. And all it is an offer of a different system that will enable them to be the great nation that a lot of the Western capitalist countries are. And I think that he's buying into it. He's going to stop the nuclearization, stop the missile launching, and this is the piece that we're talking about.
Right. And for all the naysayers and the people that are doubting, yes, we know, don't trust without proof.
Right.
There has been proof that has been provided that he's moving forward. We did see the gates being taken down or walls being taken down between him and South Korea, where they stepped over the threshold, shaking hands, military personnel shaking hands.
The demilitarized zone, which is just the border.
Whatever pace you think it's going, whether it's too slow or too fast, the fact remains it's actually moving in the right direction.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the video, the propaganda video that Donald Trump showed Kim Jong-un, the way that your world could be and that you could be hailed is the greatest leader in your country of all time.
If Kim Jong-un goes down this road and says, you know what, I'm going to take the chance, I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to go for it, let's become allies with not only the United States, but hey, let's get friendly with South Korea and figure out a way to where maybe they'll have open the border back up. Now, some people might say, Harry, whoa, two different countries, we need a border just like we have between Mexico and America. But it used to be one country. These are people that speak the same language. They probably have family members on both sides. It's equivalent to the Berlin Wall, where families were separated because you had a wall in Berlin. You had a wall around the East Germany to prevent defectors and all this kind of stuff. But you end up unifying a whole country that was previously separated. So it is different. It's not, hypocrisy to say, how can you be advocating for a wall on our southern border with Mexico and advocating for opening up these borders between two previously unified states that are perpetually at war because of an ideological war, the Cold War, that has since ended.
Oh, yeah, that ended all the way back in the late 80s, folks.
Yeah, this is a long time coming.
And on the other hand, if they do keep them as separate countries and they do keep a wall, there'll be a port of entry. And you can come and go, move freely through.
And it won't be a problem.
For goods and services, vacation.
Do the trade.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It'll work because they'll have such similar I'm assuming that Kim Jong-un is going to realize we need to get rid of this communist stuff and start going more capitalist, more free market stuff. And in that case, they'll be able to more freely trade. And the idea that one side will want to jump the border to the other side would actually kind of dissipate. There won't be that desperate need to escape communism, because I'm assuming this is what I'm really thinking. I'm thinking for Kim Jong-un to be able to accomplish what we are hoping that he's able to accomplish and be the great leader that we're hoping he'll end up being, he needs to reject the communism and embrace free market capitalism, the same way we need to get the American voters to reject the Democrat Party for their democratic socialism, aka communism. Yes.
Absolutely,
so that's
100%.
what we're talking about. That's the overall theme that we go with here. So new change here, guys. Smyth TV. That is our theme here, is to always be pointing out and educate. Free market capitalism is the way to freedom for all of humanity. And on the flip side, and we can demonstrate this with all kinds of historical examples, and that is that communism is the path to oppression, enslavement, incarceration, gulags, violations of human rights, and death on a massive scale. And so that's what we're advocating against here in every story that you hear. So that's our theme here.
Yep, absolutely. And at Charlie Kirk on Twitter said, wait a minute, the experts who never made any progress getting our hostages back, denuclearizing North Korea, or even setting up a meeting are now challenging real Donald Trump, who has brought us closer to permanent peace than any other president since the Korean War. Folks, they are fighting Trump. If Trump says water is good and healthy for you, give it to your children, they will come back and say he's wrong, water kills.
Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting thing. You've seen this for years now, the last couple of years. And that is, if Trump is for it, we have to oppose it, because we can't let him go into the 2020 election cycle being able to say, look what I accomplished. We need to make sure that even if it vastly harms America, if it big harm to America, doesn't matter. That's not what's important. We don't care if it harms America. What we really care about is that we take power away from the people, away from Donald Trump, away from constitutional power, and give it to ourselves. That's what the Democrats are saying. That's what they're going for. But there might be more at work here. Maybe not, but I'm just speculating that it could be that they would want Korea to remain a communist country because of their own ideology, where they are also advocating for a functioning communist society. They look at a place like Korea, who has a communist society, and say, hey, we need to support the separation between Trump and Kim Jong-un because we want him to be on our side of communism, not Trump side of freedom and free market capitalism. Just speculation on my part.
Well, no, I can back up your speculation with some facts.
Okay.
Well, first off, look at the Democrat Party. They are full on embracing socialism, socialist ideology. Sure. They've always embraced them, but they're now out in the open, and they're not afraid to hide their colors anymore.
It used to be hidden, didn't it?
Absolutely.
For years.
Going all the way back to Hugo Chavez and Hollywood, loving on Hugo Chavez, traveling, the list of people that attended Hugo Chavez's wake, the politicians in America that attended it, it's unbelievable that all of that was hidden from public, and now the Democrats are embracing it. And they're actually some of them are embracing Maduro in what's on example here in America, the socialist communist regime of Maduro. Wow. They're actually embracing him.
That's a good point. Isn't it? Sanders is actually coming out and saying, no, we need to keep him there. We need to keep him in power. We need to make sure that everything's okay there in Venezuela under Maduro.
Right.
So there is this worldwide Cold War long after the Soviet Union fell between communists. And now the sad part is we used to battle communists all the way on the other side of the world. We say that's where the communists are. We need to make sure that they don't spread. We need to make sure we keep them in check, and that we try to defeat them by spreading the word of freedom for humanity through capitalism and free market. Now that the Soviet Union fell, it's like you got your own city councils, full of communists and all this kind of stuff. It's just it's soaked into every single facet of American society, whereas that was actually. It was probably there during the Cold War. It's just that these people had to remain quiet. They had to stay under wraps. They had to kind of move around in secrecy. So that doesn't make it much better. But in a way, maybe it is good that we know where they are now, and we can battle them in the arena of ideas. And you will always win. We'll always win, because not only can we demonstrate it philosophically in a debate that our side is better as far as free market capitalism and all that kind of stuff, but it's also demonstrated that communism is a failure everywhere it's tried.
Oh, right. Absolutely. And with technology that we have today at our fingertips, folks, I know I keep saying this, but I'm absolutely amazed at how much we have at our fingertips. This is a video clip in Venezuela from a local news reporter with a camera in Venezuela.
Okay.
And check out the clip of what's going on. The military. This is Maduro's military. They are running away from the hordes of people.
Oh my gosh. I would defect.
There is no way that I would go down the road of staying with Maduro. There is absolutely no way.
Well, I mean, it's possible, too, that some of these police officers are loyalists to the communist cause, to Maduro himself, or whatever it might be. I don't know. But I just know that if I were there as somebody who cared about my countrymen, my nation, all of that, I would be like, we need to probably just pull this off, put on yellow vests like they do in Europe,
well,
and fight this.
I lost his name, but I remembered his name by saying the word little. So Marco Rubio retweeted this out.
Wow. Little Marco.
Little Marco retweeted this out and translated it into English for us. It says, urgent Maduro regime, national police has retreated at the Urena Bridge on the Colombian-Venezuelan border, #23F Avalanche Humanitaria.
Okay.
So thank you, Marco, for that. And Ron DeSantis, at Rep. Ron DeSantis. To the people of Venezuela, we hear you, we support you, and humanitarian aid is on its way. You are leading the effort to rid our hemisphere of Marxist military dictatorships.
That's an awesome tweet right there. I love that. That's great. That's perfectly well stated. And in the meantime, we give them aid to kind of get them to recover from the damage done by communism. And hopefully we can help them to embrace a capitalist system and implement it. And there will be some growing pains during the time of that transition. And once that happens, they will end up being a prosperous nation that we can trade with, that we can be allies with, that will be good for the freedom of their own people and all the people that are neighbors to their country. That's what bringing peace and prosperity to all of mankind in the world is all about.
Right, absolutely. So Donald Trump, I call it a pet project of his to help Venezuela get back on their feet. What would be absolutely amazing is that if he could help make Venezuela great again.
Yeah, and this just kind of popped in my mind right now because there were some people last week, very oddly on Twitter, questioning Trump's support of Israel. And you can go and make the same argument with the Venezuela thing. It's like, whoa. If you're America first, why you gotta be helping all these other countries? And I had to explain to them, both and I'll explain to you with Venezuela and explain to you with Israel, just because you support another country does not mean that you're putting that country's interests or their people above the interests of American citizens. So it's always America first. It can be Israel third, second, whatever. It could be Venezuela second, whatever. Or all other countries outside of America second. Just make sure that America is first.
Right. And in Israel, it's Israel first.
Right. Exactly.
In Venezuela, it's Venezuela first and everybody else second.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception. Number one, that if you support any other, and this is the criticism of America First. You guys need to know this. This is very important. A leftist, try to put your imagination cap on. We're going to LARP here a little bit.
Oh, no.
Live action role playing. Imagine yourself an enemy of conservatives, an enemy of the Republicans. You are a full-blown liberal Democrat.
Ugh.
What is your main problem with people claiming to be America first or even advocating for America first? The number one problem that they have with that is that they think that America first means screw everybody else, kick everybody else to the curb, go to war with them. Why not? As long as they're not America, we hate them, we're enemies with them, kick them in the dirt, we don't like them, we don't support anybody, because if we support anybody, then that is not America first. Right. That's what they think of us.
And that's what they're selling to their constituents, the people who vote for them. That's what they're selling to them in order to keep open borders.
Which is why, be careful when you run into somebody that's like, oh, you're America first? Then how come you support Israel? Whoa, we can support Israel, we can support Venezuela, and still be America first.
And if you say you're America first, then why are you building walls in other countries? Because we're helping that country be first in their mind. And they'll always be second to us.
And I will be with you if we're going to not build a wall until we build ours. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Build our wall, damn it.
I absolutely believe that. And speaking of that, just yesterday, this just in, House passes measure 245 to 182 to block Trump's emergency declaration over the border wall.
I need a list of those congressmen, because that number is very scary. I was thinking that it would be along party lines, but apparently we have
defectors. And Jim Jordan tweeted this out at Jim_Jordan. These folks, when I throw out a name, or if I tell you at Jim_Jordan, it's because these are the individuals that you need to be following on Twitter. For those of you who aren't Twitter savvy, don't worry about it. Only follow the people that we're talking about. And when you get on Twitter, you'll just see their tweets and you'll be able to stay informed and up to date.
Oh, yeah.
So at _Jim_Jordan, what will it take for Democrats to acknowledge that there is a national emergency on our border? How many caravans will it take? 6, 7? The caravan that never ends? Democrats need to stop focusing on stopping President Donald Trump and start helping the country.
Yeah.
Hashtag do what we said.
He always, I shouldn't say always, but almost every single one of his tweets, he does use that hashtag. That is almost like a Jim Jordan exclusive hashtag. It's true. We voted Donald Trump in 2016 chanting, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, make America great again, America first, all this stuff. Patriotism, end Obamacare, end all the socialist programs that are basically implementing communism for the most part. We need to build the wall because of the fact that we have a problem with immigration. Now, some people are saying that, why are we stopping people from immigrating here, even if it's more than what we would prefer? The issue is that we have all these socialist programs. I will argue to you that if it weren't for these socialist programs, which give able-bodied people that are able to provide for themselves and their whole family, they can go out and get a job and not only provide for themselves and buy a house and buy a car, but also send their kids to school and do all this stuff. And yet we're going to give them free money to do the stuff that they could provide for themselves. This is attracting people that don't give a crap about America.
Right.
I want people to come here because they want to be an American, not because in America you get free stuff. That's a problem. And if we were to end these social programs that give away stuff for no reason other than to redistribute wealth and to implement communism in America, I would contend that we would have much less of an immigration problem.
Follow the rules. Follow the legal process that's in play. Follow the rules. And the Democrats don't want that. They want to write their own rules, their own playbook. You see it here with bashing Donald Trump in Vietnam with Kim Jong-un. You see it here with the Democrats bashing Donald Trump and the wall when overwhelming numbers, huge numbers, 98% Republicans want the wall, 82% of independents want the wall, 30% of Democrats want the wall.
That's a high percentage. It's not a
numbers.
majority, but we're talking about Democrats.
You're talking about the cup being a third full. That's something.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But when you consider that we're practically in a civil war where you have Democrats versus Republicans, right versus left, we're almost there. But 30% agreed with and had a positive reaction to the State of the Union address, where a prominent feature of that address was building a wall and America first and all this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And speaking about the war, the Civil War, if you will, it is raging on in certain parts of the country where if you're wearing a MAGA hat, a MAGA T-shirt, a Trump T-shirt, a Trump flag, you support this president, you are running the risk of being physically assaulted.
Yes, absolutely assaulted.
On a daily. No, but that's under assault. Our freedoms are under assault. Being able to speak out freely is under assault. There was a video of a Christian preaching the word of Christ, and the UK police decided that, well, we got to lock you up, take you away if you're not going to stop talking.
They were nasty to him.
You're upsetting some people.
Yeah. It's hate speech if you profess the word of the Bible,
right?
Christian Bible.
And juxtapose, there's a violent Muslim violently screaming out for Allahu Akbar, and the UK police have to turn away. I mean, there was he was nervous,
nasty with an actual police officer in the UK.
Okay, now that's UK.
I almost thought it was the same police officer. Yeah,
right. And you're like, guys, why are you talking about the UK? That don't make no never mind here. This just breaking here in America. Folks, you're only going to hear it here on Smyth TV. This is the first place you need to go to for the news. You're only going to hear this stuff from us here, right now.
And have sent his son to die for you.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, you're disturbing some people, okay? I'm going to need you to get off that and, tone it down a bit.
Ma'am, I'm not going to do
that. Okay, well, if you're not going to do that, I'm going to have to take you to jail, okay?
Do what you need to do.
You are being recorded for what reason? What's the reason? Is this not a public sidewalk? Is this a public sidewalk?
It is a public sidewalk.
This is a public sidewalk, and he's speaking freely.
But he's also disturbing other people.
This is called the kingdom of
That's not
suffering
that's not against the law. Freedom of speech. What is your name? What is your name? And who is? What's your name? Officer Hurt. Who is your commanding officer?
Need to get him here, man.
Who is your commanding officer? What is his name?
She claimed that he was disturbing the peace.
Huntsville?
It's Huntsville.
Huntsville Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. I got that recorded on camera.
What's your badge number? Watch what she says.
Because I am on a
Yeah, where's your superior officer?
Unlawful arrest, ma'am.
This is unlawful arrest.
I have the right to stifle his free speech on a public
And
property.
I'm on a public sidewalk.
This is a public sidewalk.
You need a permit to walk through here.
It's public sidewalk. Public sidewalk.
It doesn't matter. First Amendment speech is protected.
This is a First Amendment right.
This is the kingdom of heaven, suffering violence.
That's right.
All I've done tonight
That's
is
right.
tell you the good news of Christ. The same thing that they're trying to do on the other side of the park, but they're singing it. Nobody complains.
Yeah, if we were seeing triple tail, nobody would
Hey, what's your badge number?
Here we go.
What's your badge number?
We don't have badge numbers.
Yes, you do. You have a badge number? 769. I see it. Badge number 769.
She's just, I'm going to give her a lot of leeway here. These people are just not taught the rights of people protected by the Constitution. They're just not taught. They're not given the proper training to understand how it works. She said, "You're disturbing people around here." That's not a grounds to arrest somebody. I don't know what kind of city ordinance. Now, I understand if you're being loud to the point of where you have they have if you're playing your stereo too loud in your car in public and you're just waking people up or whatever. But to stand on a street corner that's in a park. So I guess there was a park there, street corner. Yes, on a soapbox shouting, passages from the Bible or something like that. That would be the exact kind of speech that the founders had in mind, the exact kind of behavior that the founders had in mind when they wanted to protect the people from the tyranny of the government when they wrote the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment in particular, the very First Amendment.
And like I said,
unbelievable.
This is the Democrat Party. This is the Democrat ideology on display. Once we lose the freedom of speech, our First Amendment right, once you start to lose that, everywhere in the world that has been done, where they've taken away free speech, everywhere in the world, violence starts to occur, problems start to arise, and things start to erode really, really fast. We played a clip of Steven Crowder last week earlier, where he was debating PhD student in college. And
Steven Crowder was?
Yeah. And he showed him, and it turned it around and said, okay, you can't show me anywhere in the world that this has worked in a positive way.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Whenever tried it, never worked.
Yeah.
Other things on display, folks, with the Democrat Party. We're running 2020 now, election 2020, on display with the Democrat Party the day before. Abortion is front and center. Republicans attempted to pass a bill, and the bill stated that if an abortion results in the live birth of an infant, the infant is a legal person for all purposes under the law of the United States and is entitled to all protections of such law.
Right. But can I add to that?
Yes.
I've done a lot of research on this. I've been in knockdown, drag out battles, debates with abortionists. And if you look up the scientific and in a dictionary, in a science book, whatever, the definition of a person, a fertilized egg, is a person. If you look up the definition, it's a unique person. So it's important to point that out, that scientifically, it's a person once the child is conceived.
Right. No,
so
absolutely.
just point that out. And it's something that you need to always keep in the top of your head whenever you are defending the right to life, is that personhood begins at conception. And when you murder or have an abortion or whatever, that is the killing of a person, which also by legal definition is in fact murder.
Right. And if you look here on the screen, folks, penalties, section 2, intentional killing of a child born alive, whoever intentionally performs or attempts to perform an overt act that kills a child born alive, described under section A, shall be punished under section 1111 of this article for intentionally killing or attempting to kill a human being.
Oh my gosh, Brown from Ohio's on that list?
Yes!
There's a huge list, 44 senators who voted nay, which means they do not want that to be a law. And one of them was Sherrod Brown. There's a huge list. So I'm horrified to see that Sherrod Brown voted to allow it to be legal to kill a live human baby after being born. Unbelievable.
Warren, Elizabeth Warren's on there. Seema from Arizona's on there. Chuck Schumer's on there. Just some famous names. Murphy's on there. Merkley's on there. Menendez.
I know. How do you justify voting nay on that?
Blumenthal, Booker.
Kane, he was a Democratic vice presidential nominee out of Virginia.
Dick Durbin, Feinstein, Gillibrand, Kamala Harris.
Warren's on there. Unbelievable.
Klobuchar's on there. Folks, this is really bad. That what we just read to you is to protect the life of something that is born alive.
A live human being. This is a born baby.
Yeah, you're out of the womb already.
And you're alive.
And it says that you will be punished for killing or attempting to kill a human being. Why are we having this conversation?
It's unbelievable. It really reveals what kind of people we're dealing with in our Senate.
We've got technology at our fingertips. We've got video footage from Project Veritas. We've got video footage, undercover video footage that is just so damning.
I honestly think that Planned Parenthood is paying these people big money because they are selling body parts from these aborted
They say it's $1 billion a year industry.
And probably a big chunk of that is going back to these people who are voting nay on these kinds of things. And that's the only explanation, because how do you justify voting nay on that? That, well, we're not going to punish anybody who kills or attempts to kill a live baby after birth who was supposed to be aborted.
And this is not a slippery slope. You cannot call this a slippery slope.
We've already went over the slope.
Right. Folks, for you liberals out there, this is not the slippery slope. All this is saying, and I don't even know why we're even having this discussion other than putting Democrats on display. No slippery slope here, because all they're saying is if you're born alive, they want to put it in stone. If you're born alive, you're protected under the Constitution of the United States of America, and you're protected with proper medical care and the ability to whatever it is that you need medically to live and thrive.
Yeah, our Declaration of Independence starts off by talking about the reason we're doing this. The reason we are declaring our independence is because we don't think that you care about our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Life, that's critical. And some people say, well, that's not the Constitution. People consider the Declaration of Independence, the actual Constitution itself, and the Bill of Rights, those three documents, to be an all-encompassing supreme law of the land. And at the very least, the Declaration of Independence is our official document that gives justification for the rest of it. So we're trying to protect life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and you're over here killing live human beings, Democrats.
Right. No, this is absolute insanity, and we've got more on display. I know today was the big Michael Cohen hearing. I know some people are nervous, some people are upset.
We got good news for you.
Yeah, if you listen to the very beginning of it, yes, it sounded pretty awful.
You know, can we start off with this? I was watching him, listening to him, and I caught myself. And just in case you guys fall down this same trap that I did mentally, it's just a mental trap that I was in and I didn't even know it. I had no idea. And that was, this is Donald Trump's personal lawyer for like 10 years, right?
Yep, he said 10 years.
10 years. I accidentally fell down this trap where I mistakenly assumed that because this was such a loyal friend, longtime lawyer, friend, colleague, whatever you want to call him, a customer, however, that Trump is the Republican nominee for president. He ends up getting elected. He's the Republican president. He's a pretty damn conservative, libertarian, constitutionalist type of person. A lot of people tried, if you want to debate me on that, I will be glad to have that debate on you. I promise you I'll win. He is a constitutional libertarian. That I fell down this rabbit hole or this trap of thinking that Cohen, a New York lawyer,
New York,
that this guy would most likely also be a Republican, libertarian, conservative. Wow, it was like this eureka moment where I realized, wait a minute, this guy could be a committed leftist his whole entire life, not knowing that Trump was very political.
Well,
And some people even argued that at one point he was a Democrat. We know that Trump gave to Hillary Clinton.
So Cohen would not have much beef with Trump when it came to politics or whatnot. He knew he donated Clinton.
Yep.
And so, okay, move on. Now Donald Trump runs for president and he exposes all his ideologies to the entire world.
Well, not only that, but for the first time in his life, he is owning the libs.
Right.
I'll bet you, because now if you'll probably see this clip sometime today. I don't know if you have it, but at one point, Jim Jordan really grills Cohen about his motivation, which is you wanted the job of chief of staff. You didn't get it, and now you're going out like everybody else who's been fired from the Trump administration by blasting all over him with all kinds of lies. He didn't even mention Omarosa, but Omarosa came out with so many lies. This desperation to get even for being fired causes people to say all kinds of stuff to do nothing more than to slander their object of contempt for dare firing them. So all that, hold your horses, because I was like, yeah, you get him, Jordan. Hold on, this might go way further back. It very well may be, and this is the first time you're hearing this anywhere, exclusive to Smyth TV, it very well may be that Cohen is a committed leftist who felt betrayed by a longtime friend, Donald Trump, for owning the libs. Yeah, maybe he's a liberal.
And maybe, because back to what I was going to say, Lanny Davis.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is proof.
This is proof. Lanny Davis is his lawyer.
Yeah.
Lanny Davis is also the Clintons' lawyer and longtime confidant.
Yes.
Whose office was not raided by the FBI. Lanny Davis' office. No, Cohen's was.
Yeah.
And so you got to understand, put this into context, folks. Lanny Davis orchestrated this entire SH show. This entire show. He went to Cummings and he begged Cummings to pull this together, bring this together, set this all up.
I think they have no choice. They have to.
Right.
They have nothing else.
Well, he laid it out to Cummings. He said, Cummings, okay, been talking with the Clintons. We're down deep and things are not looking good. Adam Schiff told us what's going on with Mueller report. That's not coming out now. And now Schiff is claiming that he's going to file a lawsuit on Mueller. So we got that at bay. Yeah. But we need to get him back on the stand, Cohen back on the stand. And I begged Cohen for that. And Cohen, after 2 months of hard work that Lanny Davis put in, he was able to muster this and pull this together. And now you see the SH show that it is.
I'll tell you what, I honestly think that Cohen was a secret mole the whole time. As soon as he found out that Donald Trump was not a Democrat, that he was not liberal, that he was not truly supporting Democrats, and that he would even go down this Republican road, I think he's in secret talks with Lanny. I think he's friends with Lanny Davis.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's friends with Lanny Davis. I think that he decided, listen, guys, I've been a lawyer of Trump's for a long time, lawyer-client privilege. I cannot publicly say what I know, but man, do I have all kinds of stuff that you guys want to see, and I would love to be able to just divulge it because, but I'll be disbarred and all this kind of stuff. I honestly feel like he went to them and said, "Can we work out a way where you guys can just raid my offices?" I mean, is that possible?
I mean, that's
it's
insanity.
Pretty out there.
Well,
it's pretty out there, but I'm starting to really be convinced now that Cohen is a friend of Trump's for a long time, that when he found out that his political ideology conflicted with his so badly, he needed to go resist. I think he went resist before resist was a thing.
Right.
I think that's what happened.
Now that he's caught up.
Why was he recording all this stuff? He has 200 recordings of his clients.
And if there are not 200 recordings, he claimed there were 100. Mm-hmm. The Republican said, no, I think there's 200. That's what I've been told.
Jim Jordan said that was. I lost track of who was who, but they were just owning his.
Right. They were absolutely going back and forth owning him, exposing him for who he was and what he's been doing. And the biggest question that kind of came across to me, because he laid out 30 pages or 20 pages, 30 minutes long, his opening monologue, if you will, how Trump was a racist, bigoted, sexist, homophobic, all this stuff.
At one point, and you'll hear, this is the part that made me really the most worried. There's a lot of you Republican Trump supporters, MAGA people out there who are so worried about when he came out under oath after swearing to God that he's going to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help him God. He goes out there and says that Trump is not only a racist, but specifically that he said that black people are dumb and that he would never, that they would never vote for him because they're too dumb to, and all this kind of stuff. I was having a conversation with Brian right before the show, and after realizing how much of a liar he was, now when he said those statements, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so messed up. Later on in the hearing, he was getting so owned by the Republicans that I think he perjured himself, not just a couple times, but at one point I thought it was a continuous stream of perjury that they were actually pointing out in real time.
Yeah, real time. Jim Jordan in real time pointing out that you just lied to us right now.
Yeah, he's holding up the paper. He's like, wait a minute. Whoa. You just said that you didn't defraud this bank. But we have the court documents right here that said that you actually did defraud the bank. Yeah. And you're sitting here telling us right now that he's interrupting him by saying, sir, I did not. There was no fraud. I did not fraud anyone. And we're sitting here like, what is going on?
And Jim Jordan's like, you're now going to prison.
Yeah.
You're going to jail for this. And he also pointed out to the Democrats, he said, the Democrat Party, and everybody's listening, your star witness is not Peter Strzok. Your star witness, the insurance policy, the hate for Trump, the joining from the Hillary Clinton investigation that was a nothing burger, according to Strzok. They getting involved with the Russian collusion investigation with Trump, Crossfire Hurricane. Folks, that should have been the star witness, but as we see,
it's a total liar.
You're a liar. The first witness is hashtag fake witness.
Fake witness. So my point, the point I wanted to finish up on with him being a demonstrable liar, right there, right in there, is go back to the testimony in the opening statement where he was calling Trump a racist and getting specific examples. The phone conversation I had with Brian, I think we're both in agreement on this, is that he knows he can say that because there's no real way that they will ever be able to prove that a conversation that he had in private with Trump is false.
Well, they kept asking him for it. Can you prove this?
Yeah,
can you prove this?
He said, I have nothing to prove that what I said about him being a racist was true. And the big whopper of all was that I have no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. I have no evidence of that. He has no evidence of any actual crimes being now from Elijah Cummings.
Well, Debbie Wasserman Schultz put it to him. DWS said, well, can you say that as bad of a person that Trump is, as bad that he is, that it is possible? And he fought the question multiple times, but he wound up saying,
well, anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Right.
Anything's possible. Will a monkey jump out of my butt right now in the next 3 seconds? It's possible.
It's possible. Plausible? No. Not plausible.
Will it happen? I can safely say no.
Right.
I can safely say no. So they have this total liar up there. You guys are probably going to see clips because you didn't sit through it like we did. I sat there from the beginning, cringing. There were a lot of my friends on Twitter who just stopped watching it because they couldn't stop cringing. And I said, no, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to go through it. And guess what? The tables turned on his ass.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Folks, I've got a 1:39 compilation clip that I hurriedly rushed to put it together.
Okay.
So I've got that for you, but I want to make this point. This was an SH show for cover for the Democrats. Yeah. It was about Stormy Daniels. It's been totally just absolutely run through the ringer. They're bringing Stormy Daniels back out again. They're bringing Russian collusion out again. And what court case is pending as of right now? We couldn't get him on the show. We have to wait.
Oh, Roger Stone.
Mr. Roger Stone was brought up. Folks, They brought up Roger Stone and pretended to act like and that he's colluding with Trump to collude with Julian Assange.
Yeah, let's talk about this WikiLeaks thing.
Okay, hold on. And so Cohen says, I was in the room. Donald Trump put the speakerphone on.
Okay.
And it was Roger Stone.
Okay.
And Roger Stone said, I just got off the phone with Julian Assange and a big email dump is coming tomorrow.
Clinton emails being dumped tomorrow. So Trump knew at least a day, you're saying a day, at least a day ahead of time that WikiLeaks. What are we supposed to make out of this? I actually thought it didn't take me very long at all to realize, or at least question, was there a law broken here?
There is no laws that were broke. There's nothing illegal about that.
Here's what they're going to try to say. They're going to try to say that Trump knowing about Julian Assange, or actually having a conversation with an intermediary, which would be Roger Stone, with Julian Assange, that is collusion with a foreign entity, and they're going to suggest that somehow Trump had his hand in the DNC dump and also the stealing of the documents of the DNC dump with the DNC emails. And we reported this to you guys years ago. Well, let me reiterate. We should actually go over this very quickly to reiterate so that you don't forget. I don't want you guys to forget this. We have proved, not us, but it has been proven that the emails from the DNC server must have been taken from a computer inside the DNC, because the amount of data that would have been required to go over the email, or over the internet, which is required for a hack.
Right.
Hackers operate over the internet. They don't break into your office, go into your computer, and start hacking in your computer like it's 1992.
Right. No.
They do it over the internet. But the data that was transferred could only be downloaded through like a flash drive. It couldn't have come over the internet in the speed that it did. Yeah. Therefore, that proves beyond any doubt whatsoever, scientific proof that it was an insider. Somebody had access to a DNC computer that stole all those emails. And that is the person that would have gotten it to Julian Assange, whoever that might have been. That's the lawbreaker. By the way, Julian Assange isn't breaking the law by doing that. He is literally no different than a reporter at the New York Times. He's just a journalist who received information, and by our own First Amendment standards of freedom of press, would be allowed to print it by our standards.
Right, absolutely. And Julian Assange says that none of the information came from Russia. However, China had real-time emails sent and received from Hillary Clinton.
Right. They hacked
to
her.
them. They hacked her. So every email sent or received was blind carbon copied directly to China.
Yep. That's right. Everyone.
And all of these. So now we're talking about.
She was Secretary of State.
So we're talking about her emails. Why don't we discuss what was in those emails?
And also just
that's the real breaking story.
Yes.
All the classified documents in those emails from Jim Baker, the lawyer for that was working with Comey, that big lawyer. He even said that James Baker said that, wow, man, you guys going to have to convince me that she didn't do something illegal.
Well, just the fact that she was doing this over unsecured servers and all that kind of stuff is clearly breaking the law.
Right.
Clearly. And you got to imagine that it's not just about collusion to steal an election. It's about national security when a giant foreign superpower, who could, and many argue, could be adversarial to America, is able to get a hold of the Secretary of State's every single communication because of her breaking security protocols.
Right. And real quick, because we're almost out of time, folks, they did try and bring back up the Trump Tower meeting, which was all staged. We know it was staged. It was staged by the Clintons.
By the Democrats.
Right.
My gosh.
Who paid Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson, who met with the actors before the meeting and met with the actors after the meeting. This was all a complete Democrat setup. They attempted to bring that back up, saying that Trump knew about the meeting, whereas we know Trump says, I did not know anything about the meeting. And this is how his testimony has gone all morning long. He said he was sitting in the room.
Okay.
Don Jr. walked around to his father behind the desk, which nobody does.
Okay.
Nobody walks behind Donald Trump. That's what he said. And he said, and then he leaned in to whisper something to him.
Wait, hold on, I gotta stop you real quick. Did you just say that Cohen said that nobody walks behind Donald Trump?
Yes.
He said that?
Yes.
We have pictures from our friends on Twitter who are standing behind Donald Trump at his desk in the Oval Office.
Liar.
There are pictures.
Liars.
I can't remember his name, but it was a big controversy because he's one of these guys that reports on the Q stuff.
Yeah.
And so people were talking about that, oh gosh, here's a guy getting his picture with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is sitting at his desk in the Oval Office. The guy is standing right behind him, and they got a professional snapshot there.
So,
how the hell is Cohen not totally lying about that?
Absolutely.
Oh
so
gosh.
he says that his son, Don Jr., walked behind the desk, leaned into Donald Trump, and whispered to him, but I could clearly hear him, but in a low voice said to him, the meeting is on.
And that exactly means the fake Russia meeting.
I concluded it was about the Russia Tower meeting.
So he's speculating.
And that Donald Trump Jr. has the absolute worst judgment of anybody ever.
That's all just opinion.
Absolutely. So
from Cohen, the biggest liar. He can't even stop from lying right there at the congressional meeting after swearing to God he wouldn't.
Right. So
unbelievable.
A couple real quick takeaways and some numbers, folks. Jim Jordan said, exposed Cohen as a crook. Jim Jordan exposed Cohen as a crook, filed bad tax returns for 5 straight years.
Yes.
Had to pay the IRS $1.38 billion, paid to create fake Twitter account during the run-up. It's called Women for Cohen. And
he disputed that.
He kept saying, we were having fun.
We were having fun. He said, we were having fun. But then right before he said, we were having fun, he said, no, it was one of my secretaries made that. It wasn't me. Right. I didn't make it. It was a secretary. And then he was even asked, did you tell her to do that? No, she did that on her own. But we were having fun. So he's kind of told on himself there too.
Jim Jordan said, you have a history of lying over and over and over and over again. He brought up court documents from the past where judges have slammed Cohen in court cases for being a liar. All those bad things you said about Trump, how could you have worked for him for 10 years? If he's that bad of a person, and your father, he made a point, my father's a Holocaust survivor. Okay, so if Donald Trump is that bad of a racist, raging racist, how did you stay with him for 10 years?
That's a good point. How does a Holocaust survivor, the son of a Holocaust survivor, stay with a total racist? That's a contradiction right there.
And then again, this is the point that you made. Michael Cohen said, I never worked in the White House, to a question to Jim Jordan. And Jim Jordan said, it's because you didn't go to the dance is why you're doing this right now.
Right. And guess what? Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. both took to Twitter instantly, and they both said that it was a running joke. Every single person in the White House knew that Michael Cohen pushing for the job hardcore for chief of staff. It was so bad that everybody in the entire White House was making a huge joke about it. So he lied. That was the biggest lie to Congress, was to say that I was happy where I was not pushing for the job inside the White House. Instantly took to Twitter. Eric Trump, Don Jr. both said, wow, totally lied right there, because everybody in the White House knows he was pushing for the chief of staff.
Right. And Jim Jordan pointed it out. Yeah, you didn't get to go to the dance. You're just like Andrew McCabe, James Comey, and he didn't put this in there, but Omarosa.
Yeah,
you're just like all the rest of them.
Just immediately lashing out, not just lashing out and and smearing them with inside information, but demonstrable lies.
Right. Absolute lies. Representative Green from Tennessee, you even lied about delivering your own child, and your wife had to correct you on that.
That's pretty sad.
And then he said, what is the majority party doing here today? Hashtag fake witness. And then at Chuck Ross, DC, bear with me here. If Michael Cohen testifies today that he didn't go to the Prague and he didn't pay off Russian hackers, then senators should be able to disclose right now a non-event can't be classified. This whole Russian Trump Mueller thing that's classified information, you cannot classify an event that didn't happen.
Right. It has to at least happen to be able to be classified. You wouldn't classify false information.
Right. No,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Right. So here's real quick. Here's my minute and 30-second clip of some of the highlights that you might have missed if you didn't watch it, but check it out real quick.
My colleagues on the other side of the aisle claim that they want the truth, that they want transparency and fair oversight. Yet the Democrats' witness to testify before Congress today is none other than a scorned man who's going to prison for lying to Congress. Let that sink in. He's going to prison for lying to Congress, and he's the star witness to Congress.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, we said we were in search of the truth. I don't believe that Michael Cohen is capable of telling the truth. And I would hope that as this committee moves forward, that when we have the opportunity to subpoena witnesses, we subpoena witnesses that are not recently disbarred, are not convicted felon, and witnesses that haven't committed bank fraud and tax fraud. That is how we're going to determine the truth.
Let's make one point. We just had a 5-minute debate where Mr. Cohen disputes what the Southern District of New York found, what the judge found, that he was actually guilty of committing bank fraud. If this statement back here doesn't say it all, Cohen's consciousness of wrongdoing is fleeting, his remorse is minimal, his instinct is to blame others is strong. There's only thing one wrong with that statement. His remorse is non-existent. He just debated a member of Congress saying, I really didn't do anything wrong with the false bank things that I'm guilty of and going to prison for.
I guess what I'm saying is I've talked to the president over 300 times. I've not heard one time a racist comment out of his mouth in private. So how do you reconcile it? Do you have proof of those conversations?
I would ask you to.
Do you have tape recordings of those conversations?
No, sir.
Well, you've taped everybody else. Why would?
Good point. It was Meadows that brought that out. That was great. Oh my gosh. And I'm glad he pointed that out because it did make me cringe to hear him say these statements that Donald Trump said because he's the only person. Donald Trump has worked with a lot of people of color, all creeds, all colors. He's very diverse. Everything. Like he hires women in very prominent roles. I mean, this is the guy you can't attack on those kinds of issues. And yet here we are for the first time after years.
Decades and decades and decades of working with the black community. And
he says that he was calling black people dumb and that they wouldn't vote for him because they're too dumb to vote for him.
You remember the shithole country comment?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They brought that up and said, blacks, look at them. Look at the way they live. They like to live in shitholes.
No.
They're using words.
He would not say that.
They're using words that Trump has used in the past, and they've taken that one single word, and they're putting an entire story around that one word, the sharpshooter theory. They're actually
painting the bullseye around the you randomly shoot at the barn, you got holes all over the barn, and then afterwards you go up and you paint the bullseye around them. They're trying to do that. One thing I point out that you should really listen to very carefully when Elijah Cummings talks about Donald Trump lying, what he's trying to do every time, and you have to really listen carefully to pick this up. He's trying to conflate inaccurate statements or statements that he says in the press or publicly or on the podium when he's doing a rally or whatever, where there's a statement that he says it's either exaggeration or it's not 100% accurate. He's trying to conflate that with lying to Congress or in some way breaking the law. He's doing it constantly.
Insanity.
And that's what you got to watch out for because that's different than lying to Congress, which actually is a crime. And so Elijah Cummings, let me tell you something, Elijah, and everybody who's listening to him and might believe what he's saying. You're allowed to say things that are hyperbole in public. You're allowed to say things that are hyperbole to the press. You're allowed to even be wrong. You might think a stat is exactly correct. Maybe it's off by a little bit, or maybe you're just totally wrong. You're allowed to do that and not be thrown in prison. Elijah Cummings is on a slippery slope.
Right. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, for those of you who are worried about the Stormy Daniels thing, this is what Cohen said on the stand, and none of it matches up. He said he used his own home's equity to pay Stormy Daniels, who sought him out. Stormy Daniels sought him out for a demand payment of $130. That was her demand. He said he consulted Trump. Trump said pay her, but use some other way of paying her. So he used his home equity line of $130,000 to pay her. And then he claims that Trump wrote him a check for $35,000 as repayment. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense, no.
And then he said it was a total of 11 payments.
Okay.
Of $35,000, 11 payments.
Okay.
That adds up to $385,000.
So he's paying him more. He's basically he's tacking on a finder's fee.
Right. And he says that Trump
middleman fee.
Right. Trump only paid him that one check up front, one check, and then all the other 11 checks came from Don Jr. and Alan Weisselberger. No other checks from Trump. Now think about this, folks. This is a family lawyer, or this is a lawyer connected to your father. If you need it, and to his testimony, Cohen, I'm the guy you call at 3 a.m. So if you're the guy you call at 3 a.m., Don Jr. is going to call you. Ivanka's going to call you. The people around the horn are going to call you.
Right.
And you're saying that all this money came from not Trump, but other people.
Seems kind of strange.
In 11 payments.
I can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. Oh, and then the other thing, he tried to slam Trump, that I wrote this letter to all the schools and universities, threatening them on behalf of Trump, threatening them. You better seal Donald Trump's SAT scores and his grades.
Yeah.
It is
all it does is introduce a public belief that he's not very smart and that he doesn't have good test scores because he's stupid. He's not really smart. He's stupid. Guys, the guy turned $1 million into $10 billion. The guy's obviously a brilliant businessman. He's running the country so well that I don't think, we certainly have not had a president this good in my lifetime.
No.
Probably not in anyone's lifetime that's on earth today. And I don't anticipate us having a president as good as Donald Trump for the rest of my life. I just don't. I mean, I hate to be pessimistic, but I just don't think it's possible. Not my lifetime. Therefore, to try to say that the reason that he's sealing his grades and his SAT scores, we know, is because I want you guys to know he's an idiot. He's a moron. And if you guys got to see his grades and his SAT scores, you would finally see, after long last, how stupid this guy is.
So I'm
not buying it.
So you're saying by his deeds, don't look at what he's done.
Yeah.
Look at some papers. I'm not buying it whatsoever.
I'm not buying it.
And lastly, he did admit Trump did not tell me to lie to Congress. However,
But why is he lying now?
You just know you got to with him. I just assume, the attorneys wrote my statement for me.
So you just know he didn't tell me to lie to Congress, but I knew what he wanted me to do. That's the argument that, hey, I know I was putting in the Holocaust. I think Rush Limbaugh made this argument that you'll never find any evidence that Hitler ordered the Holocaust, but he put people in place that knew what to do. I'm not buying that with Trump. Trump has fired and hired people, risky hires. He's made risky hires. I think he made a huge risk when he hired Omarosa. I think he thought it paid off for The Apprentice, and it ended up being a huge disaster when he did it again for the White House. And he fires people. He makes risky hires. He fires people. But that's part of the success formula for him.
Right, absolutely. And folks, you're watching New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith and
Carrie Smith,
giving you all the real news, exposing the fake news, the fake stuff all over the place, folks.
Fake witnesses, we got to expose it.
You got fake witnesses. Share this with your friends and your family. Jump over to Smyth.tv. Buy something, donate something, get involved, be a part of this new movement. New Right Network tonight is our show. Smyth.tv is who we are. Share this everywhere.
And don't forget, patreon.com/SmithRadio. You want to go ahead and support us and what we do so we can continue to do this, and we will see you tomorrow.
All right. Peace out.